Okay. I'm here with Mahe Kahale. She is friend, family. We do real estate together. So go to coreteamhawaii.com. Go to the bottom. Hit us up for real estate. But since this isn't our real estate platform and this is just our Hawaii conversation platform, I figured I'd bring Mahe on because local girl, local mom, Kamehameha alum, a variety of experiences. And, you know, you kind of started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah.
weight loss, you can talk about all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Who are you? Like, if you were introducing yourself
Who am I?
Without playing, you know, humble Japanese lady like you do.
Yes.
But what would you say? What would be your...
Today, I would say I am a thriving and successful businesswoman, real estate agent, a mom, a full-time mom with a full-time job, with two healthy and usually very happy kids. I'm not well balanced. I'm not gonna lie and say that, but I don't really agree that that's like part of the equation to success. Like, I just realistically, from my perspective, like, it's just not gonna happen. Like, and that's okay. And I think a lot of people, anyway, I'm just not subscribing to that anymore because a lot of my heartbreak came from like, I'm not balanced. And like, I don't know how to be successful and balanced. And I was like, okay, so there is a time and a place for the hunger and the drive and the work and all of that. And like, that's just the season I'm in right now. And that's great.
So, I mean, we've had so many conversations over the years, but what I'm hearing there is kind of like me. Our dads were like damn near classmates.
Yeah.
We, you know, guys who, did your dad graduate high school?
He did.
Oh, see, my dad never, but guys who like.
But he got kicked out of Farrington and then went to Wailua.
Oh, okay.
So he like barely, you know.
So my dad just stopped and started working on the beach to make money to eat. Mm-hmm. But our dads are like, go the straight path, the baby boomer blueprint.
Yes. Yeah.
And in trying to do that, it wasn't really how for neither
Not
you nor
for
I.
us. No.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of years ago, I would have been like, I'm a college dropout. I'm a single mom. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I didn't finish college. Like, that would have been like the first thing I said is like, I didn't finish college. You know, like, I'm like, my dad used to tell people that all the time. Like,
he would introduce you?
Yeah. Like, she never finished college, but she gonna go back. Like, and that was like, that's just like the mindset that we're fed all the time. I think especially too, like, I mean, everywhere, like here in Hawaii, that's just kind of like what I feel like Japanese family too is just like my grandpa's thing was, I gonna give a car to any of my grandkids who go to college because like none of us went. Like,
but you know, I was born on the mainland and, you know, I have that mix of experience.
Yeah.
And you, although very local, also in the beginning of our business relationship, I was like, is she super cool? Like, cannot relate to people? And quickly I discovered not. What I'm getting to is, I don't think that's a local thing only.
Is that like a generational thing?
I think it's more of a generational thing than a local thing. However, that Asian influence that Hawaii has, it might exacerbate it a bit, right? Because there's that like in Japan, it's do your job, no make, no act, don't the nail that sticks up gets hammered, and just don't disrupt the status quo and fall in line into the social community structure. Yes. So we might be worse, like not worse, but you know, that whole like no grumble, be humble, do your job and go home might be different here than the main. But I think it's more generational.
Yeah, for sure. Both my brothers like went to college and didn't just go to college, you know, they like got their master's degrees and all of that stuff. You know,
Michael got his master's too?
Yeah, he has his master's too. Oh. So it's just like, they like really went to college, you know, like they went to all the college. Yeah. But they also had like all the student loan debt and, you know, like all of that stuff and, you know, changing of the majors and like but I know to me, I feel like college is not necessary to be successful. I think it's a great thing to do like for the traveling and for the experience and for like, I was just talking to my brother-in-law about this yesterday because we were kind of like talking to my daughter about this, like Joey, like, because she's a freshman in high school now, and that's kind of where you start to like think about like, okay,
Yeah.
I got to start getting good grades if I want to go to college. You know, like I actually have to pay attention to my academia now if that's on my radar.
If you want to go to certain colleges.
If you want to go to certain colleges.
That's certain, yeah.
Yes. And she really has no idea right now, like what she wants to do. And I'm like, okay, that's fine.
She
Like,
shouldn't.
you're 15. Like, and then I was talking to my brother-in-law. He was like, I mean, honestly, like college is kind of where you actually figure that out. Like, it's not even like there's no pressure right now for you in high school to like have it figured out, know what you want to major in and know what you want to be when you grow up. Like, he's like, I don't know what the stats are, but I bet like a lot of people who go to college thinking they want to do one thing, they change and decide there, you know, when they're, so I think it's a good experience to like get away from your family and like, you know, broaden your worldview a little bit, like expand your horizon of like what you think is out there.
Yeah, but see it for what it is, right?
Right. But it doesn't, I mean, like you don't need to have a college degree to be successful in life.
If you're gonna, whether through student debt or parent money, is it worth it to spend $50,000 on like Duke for your freshman year in college? Like, maybe depend. Like, what are we doing?
What level of scholarships are you receiving? Would be like the first question. But
what are we doing, right? Well, so for you, back to the generational thing. Where you're from, Pro City and Wailua?
Yes.
And what was the what was the mindset growing up? Like how you grew up? This doesn't have to be a pure freaking, you know, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone success conversation. But what's the framework of, you know, Mahe as a kid leading up to even just a few years ago before this whole business thing? Yeah.
As a kid, we grew up really, really close with our whole family. So like my mom and her two sisters, the siblings, we all lived in like one house divided into three. And then all like the cousins all kind of grew up around each other. I'm a lot younger than all of them. So like my mom, them had me much later. So
you act like you're younger than
I
everybody.
am way younger than everybody. Like my brother above me is the closest and we're like 8 years apart. Yeah. So, you know, everybody's older than me, but it was like, you know, none of us had money, you know, and like my mom and my dad were kind of like the rich ones, you know, because my dad was a construction worker. And I don't remember what she was doing before, but she like went back to like trade school or whatever it was and got like, you know, certified or whatever to be a medical transcriptionist. So she like worked at the hospital and had like a good job, you know, as a medical transcriber. I wish I like knew the data of like how much money they made, but like it wasn't a lot. And it was, you know, 3 of us kids and our whole family was like kind of all over the place. And at one point, you know, we had like drugs being dealt out of like one part of the house and everybody had like choke babies. Like
the statute of limitations is up on that or what?
Probably, I don't know, but they're not doing it anymore. And no comment on who it was, but that's what I grew up around. And as a kid, like I was very happy. Like I like loved being around my family, being around my cousins. But like as an adult now, and I think of like, holy crap! Like if my kids were growing up in that, like it was like no sheets on the mattress, you know, like cockroaches everywhere, like rats coming in and out. Like it was, you know.
But you probably had a freedom that like I'm kind of strict with my boys. I try to work on that. You probably had a freedom that they don't have, right? Like you just go around, do whatever.
I did whatever. And my parents both worked a lot. So like from like small kid time, like I know I walked myself to school. I walked, you know, home. If my mom was working late, I would never have like cell phones or anything like that. So, you know, it was like come home when the street lights are on. And then my parents were home, you know, like sometimes my auntie next door would like watch me, but like not really, you know, like it was, I mean, we grew up in poverty, like, and I just remember it being like we had a rich grandpa who like owned the house and he was like, oh, Amway everything. Like,
do you still think he was rich? Would your newfound mindset? Or was he just middle class?
I think he was like middle class.
That's rich
and that was so rich. Like he owned a house.
Right.
I'm sorry. I think he owned 2 houses at the end of it.
Wow. Yeah.
So he was like balling, you know, to us, like he owned a house, you know, like that was crazy. Right. And like, but that was, we learned nothing about money ever. Like the only, and like he had money and you knew like he had money, but he also, you know, was like running an Amway business, and he was like early to the Amway business. So he was doing well, and he's like well known in Hawaii for Amway, whatever. But it's not like one of those things that you like just start doing and you're rich, you know, like, and so the only time we ever even talked about money was like to have Amway meetings for him to like sit all the kids down and like see if they wanted to get into Amway. So it was either you be poor, you keep doing what you're doing, or you come and you do Amway, you know, and it just, none of them did it. Like none of them got into it. So it was like you have, and it kind of shitty too. Like we weren't super close with him either. I was like really Japanese style, like a hard pat on the back, you know, instead of like a hug. You know what I mean? Like a real, like a slam on the back was like, hey, like that was.
That's interesting. Not even the hug.
Not even a hug. Like one arm slap on the back was like the most affection that we would get from him, you know?
Yeah.
So, and we're like, all of the sisters are all Japanese, right? 100% Japanese, half Japanese, half Okinawan. But they all married like brown local guys.
Yeah.
So everybody's really affectionate, you know, like that type of like, you know, physical touch is really important. And I feel like, you know, Hawaii local culture.
Yeah.
So all of us are like that kind. So I think it like did kind of a number in like villainizing like money to us. Like, this is a rich grandpa who was making it and like does business and but he don't love the family, you know,
I see
and that's not necessarily true. As an adult, I can make that differentiation of like, okay, does physical touch is not his love language, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that may have played like a role of like money being dirty to us and like never talking about money, like all of that.
Jackie, you can, and you editors, you can keep this or not, but my kids are in the other room, so you get anytime they get out, tap on the glass, tell them, shut up. I get that. I didn't have that same thing. Well, kind of. My grandpa built a business in Florida and was a known, like, you know, his known businessman and kind of feared man.
Yeah.
I'm talking like race cars, NASCAR, like early days of NASCAR.
Your grandpa on your dad's side, your mom's side?
My mom's side.
Okay.
My mom's side. And so pure, like, I think our origins are like, for I don't know, how they, like, you know, mainland Florida, deep south. He's kind of a feared man. My brother, I never go to his funeral because I was living here, but they said at his funeral there's like just all the who's who of the town were there, like old men in suits, like the attorneys who got guys out of things, were all there.
Yeah.
And my uncles took over the business, and so people had money, just not us.
Yeah.
We were and my mom would talk about it like they're so rich, but they won't help us.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand, you know. And my mom since passed, you know, R.I.P. But also I had no concept of like it's not like we talked about home ownership or retirement, investing. We ate food that was cooked in a hurry and like just real lower class lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a concept of any of that. And so my dad was like, after high school, he's like, learn a trade, go to the military or go to college. And he kind of like knew I was going to fail out of college. So did that. Went for 4 semesters, got 6 or 9 credits in 4 semesters. A lot of did not finish and
Withdrawal.
Withdrawal, I think doesn't affect your GPA.
It doesn't
right?
affect your GPA.
I got both.
Okay.
I got actual Fs, the like you withdrew too late one, the DNF, and then the withdrawal. I got plenty of those.
Okay.
Wasted money. But then I want to go back to you, but I proceeded from dropping out of college all the way until mid-30s to just kind of see myself as a failure. I would say into high school, actually, because teachers would be like, you're smart, but you won't focus, you won't do your work, you won't stop cracking jokes.
Yeah.
And so like negative feedback, drop out of college, failure, work some jobs, party, and then Coast Guard. I really didn't fit that mold. We were forcing the wrong peg into the wrong hole for sure. So feedback, failure until I found business.
Yeah.
So you got married. You like to say thick in the poi.
Yep.
Had your Hawaiian kids.
Yes.
And then what? You moved to Maui? What? How old?
So I was actually a very good student. Like that's kind of like my identity was like, that's why my dad would talk about like, oh, she'll go back later, because I was like the smartest of us and always got good grades. And like, you know, I would have gone to the good school and, you know, like all of that stuff. But like my mom also died when I was a senior in high school and was sick for the last like couple years of my high school career. So like things just didn't, you know, like it just didn't, I didn't want to leave. I couldn't leave my dad, you know, like I mean, that's like my third kid, you know, like I got to take care of him.
But at that time, did you feel that way?
Yes,
Really?
100%. I felt like I needed to take care of him because my brothers had already left. They were already gone. And he was like trying to figure out how to like pay the mortgage like by himself without my mom's income too. I got a job to like, and like my boyfriend at the time, who is now my ex-husband, we both got jobs to like help pay for things and like helped him like use my high school friend's mom to like sell the place because he was like, you know, like underwater. So I was a very like
Hawaiian Homelands, huh?
no, not that one.
Oh,
that was like in Wekau,
oh,
Launani Valley, the condo my parents
this is
owned.
your parents' one.
Yes. So I had to help with all of that. So I did have like aspirations of like, I'm going to go to college and do all this stuff. But it like morphed into like I had a different social thing that I had to do. Like my social expectations were different at that point. Like my mom died and I became like the adult in the house, you know? So I worked. I got married.
I think in a lot of lower class families, the female experience is a bit of that. Like you gotta play this nurturing role that doesn't allow you to participate in, you know, personal goals, right?
And at the time, like up until just a couple of years ago, or like maybe however long ago I got divorced, right? Like maybe like 5 years or something now. I don't even know.
Only 5 years?
I think so, like legally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it was always like, I will go back to school because I am still very smart, you know, and I am too ambitious and I am like, there's just no way that this is it for me, you know, like.
And the I will rise again was school.
Yeah.
Was
and that's
like,
what it
I'll
was. That's like all I got. I have to go to school, right? To do anything. Like I remember going back to work, like after being a stay-at-home mom and it being like your resume. I'm like, I don't know. Like I breastfeed, I wash clothes. Like what's like, what do you even put on your resume after you've been, you know, a stay-at-home mom for so long? And it feels very like, oh my God, I can't do anything because like, it's not, I didn't go to school.
Right.
So like, what am I even qualified to do?
Yeah,
you know?
This is baby boomer programming.
Correct.
Not to shit on our dads, but this, if you're gonna do anything, school's the prerequisite is baby boomer programming for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
employee baby.
Employee.
Not
mindset.
that being an employee is a bad thing. My wife just started work yesterday, first day. I'm proud of her. I'm stoked. It's good for the family, the house, but for the wrong kid, that can be very defeating and very minimizing to their psyche. And stuff.
And for sure. And I always knew like, you know, I just like felt bad, like even being married, like, and having kids, like I felt bad that like, this is what all my cousins do. Like, this is what everybody in our family does. And they love it, you know, like I felt like wrong for feeling like I could do more. I felt like wrong for feeling not fulfilled, like to just do that, you know, and I didn't really have like the space, the time, or the money to like try other things. And really like divorce kind of like thrust me into that, like, okay, now you're freaking smart, figure it out. You know, like, what are you going to do now? You have two kids now, figure it out. And like, that's kind of like what thrust me into like having to just do more and like be more, you know, take a leap without, you know, knowing that your chute's going to open, you know, every single time, which is not in my nature to do that. So up until just a few years ago, I really didn't like think I felt like I could do more, but I really didn't have any type of faith in like making that happen or any type of like guidance or, you know, like mentorship or anything, which is, you played a big role in that for me, of just like having a person tell you like, that's okay. Or like, that's good. Like that quality that you have, like that's not a fault. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to get emotional.
I mean, someone did that for me, right? So I'm parroting what we have the same epiphany, like epiphany story. Is there a better word? Epiphanal story.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Just that like.
We have that same thing. So this is leading up. The way this conversation is going is leading up to and then real estate happened and mentorship and real estate happened. So since that is kind of the way the conversation's going, one thing that I think is before that big epiphany moment is and then the years to follow and how everything's different and the message we'd want to share to local people and try to think different or whatever. But in all of that, so kid, poverty, blue collar, lower class Hawaii, divorce, and kind of set the framework for all that. But like your mental state when you start real estate. Mm-hmm. So not only divorce, and not to get into all the details of it, but a bad one.
Yeah, not a great one.
Not a great one. One for the books. And but you're kind of like low of lows at that time.
Yeah,
like bad relationship.
Yeah.
You and also paired with that, you lost 100 pounds?
Yes. 100 pounds. Also.
So although that sounds like a really, like that could be the positive, but there's not all positive with that either. Like
no, and even
that came with bad, right?
That was like, I have nothing for myself. Like everything is going wrong here. What is one thing that I can control, Mm-hmm. And it was obsessively working out and obsessively tracking my macros. And like, I am obviously a lot healthier now than I was then, but the way in which I did it was not healthy. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, it's like, and that's kind of crazy too, because a lot of people like know me through weight loss and like my Instagram following, like people that I know from before, like they know me through like weight loss and like coming to me for like help and like advice and that. And like, at the time I was like, yeah, you just gotta whatever. Right. But now I look back on it, I'm like, oh man, like that was actually a really low point in my life. Like that was like the one highlight that I had was like, I lost 100 pounds. Like nobody can tell me shit. Like, look at me. I can do whatever I put my mind to. Right. But that was like a mask for like all the other stuff that I had absolutely no control over. That just like every rug was being pulled out from under me. Yeah. And that was like the one thing that I could like focus on and be like, okay, well, I can spend 3 hours a day in the gym and for sure I will lose weight.
And scream about and boast about it.
Yeah. And like be loud about it. And then then that's my identity, like
right.
It's not like failing marriage, Mahe. It's not like, I don't know what I'm about to do with my life, Mahe. It's, I don't have a college degree, Mahe. It's, I lost 100 pounds, Mahe. Yeah. Like, and so that was like my identity for a good long while.
But then those other things are all still there.
But those other things are all still there.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So that was crazy.
So that was that.
So that was, so just, mentally, physically, not all like, like just, it was like the slingshot was, or, was that what that's called? A slingshot? Yeah. That's what that's called, right? What? That thing you pull back. It was like, I was being
bow and arrow?
Maybe, can be. Yeah, sure.
The bow, okay.
But I was like at the back part, which at the time just felt like this cannot get worse.
Or they say that whenever you hit actual bottom, you can push off and go up, right?
Yeah.
Same kind of, that's the analogy, right?
So it was just like, little did I know, like this is just what it takes to challenge me and to mentally and physically and emotionally prepare me for the momentum forward. Yeah. But I was just like, oh my God, like if one more freaking thing happens, like, I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, aloha, everyone. This is Derek Okahashi, host of Podcast Hawaii. Thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying the show. I have two things to ask. Whether you're listening to this on a streaming platform or on YouTube, please go comment and follow and do all the things to gas us up and keep us going. And in that comment, let me know who you'd like for me to have a conversation with next. Is there an interesting university professor, someone who owns a business, a controversial person, a politician, whoever you want to see on this show, please let me know in the comment section of whatever platform you're on. Also, I am a real estate agent and a real estate team leader. My small team, Core Team Hawaii, is one of the top real estate teams in all of Hawaii. So if you have anything in real estate, if you have any need at all in real estate, please think of Core Team Hawaii first. Go to coreteamhawaii.com. The link will be in the description of all of these shows moving forward. Book a call with me. Let's get you taken care of in real estate. Back to the show. So look, the house looked good on the outside, but the foundation was
weak
at the time.
Yeah, very weak.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then you moved back to Maui. Did you work here before you started real estate?
No, I came back during COVID. I
Did
was
I say to Maui? Did I say move back to Maui? Or move back from Maui? Whatever
moved
I
back
said.
from Maui.
Move back from Maui.
Everybody got laid off during COVID because I was in not real estate. I worked at resorts and I worked in tourism for like 5-ish years, something.
Because you apparently you're a known paddler out on Maui.
I did okay.
Well,
It
when
was like
Maui-
state champs
I
or
was like,
whatever.
I don't even think she know how paddle. and then we went Maui, and there are a couple people like, "Hey, you're that paddler girl." I was like, "Okay, see you."
See, I'm not making up stories.
She-
I'm that guy. No, I'm not. No, I'm not that guy. And I'm like retired since then. So like, don't call me to paddle with you guys because I cannot. But that was the thing. Like paddling was the thing. You know, like okay. And I think paddling really helped me like just figure out who I was again and like get back to it because I had done that when I was a kid and I loved it. And you know, like I just got back in the ocean and it just like gave me a routine again of like giving me some wins, you know, like just feeling good about myself and feeling confident,
friends.
a community. Because when you are married, and especially to like your high school sweetheart, you know, who you've been with for forever, if that shit starts to crumble, like you don't tell people around you, like because it's all intermingled, you know, so you don't talk to those people. You don't necessarily reach out for help to those people.
Wait, your best friends were, you guys were
All our best friends are all the
intertwined,
same, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and like now, thank God, like we've been able to like, you know, we haven't had to like lose people. Like we haven't had to like have people choose sides. And it's like, you know, friends from kid times. So
Yeah.
the dust is all settled and we're all like hunky dory, whatever. But like at the time, it's like, you don't talk to those people. So I was like, okay, I have to like find new people. And how do you even do that as an adult?
So
first
you
of all?
figure in the middle of a pandemic, you'd move back to Oahu with no job.
Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I haven't been home in 10 years. All my friends are gone now. Nobody's there anymore anyway. Like, why not just move back? I don't have a job. I don't have a place to live. I don't have money to get my own place.
Okay.
But I did know that there were more jobs here. And I was able to transfer my kids to the school here.
So what were you did you get your license as soon as you moved back or were you?
No, I did not.
What were you going to do?
I was thinking maybe of going into tourism again once things started opening up.
Oh.
And like my brothers and my family had always like told me, oh, you should try real estate. Like, you know, you're got the personality type. Like, and it was like, oh, we don't know why. Like, that's what my brother
They
was
have
saying.
no concept of what it takes to do
Yeah.
real estate and
Yeah.
succeed.
They're like, oh, you talk to anybody and whatever.
Because real estate, you just talk to people and make money.
Yeah. Really, that's all that's involved. Like,
Yeah. There's this South Park episode where he's like, I've got a great plan. Like, I'm going to be a realtor. Have you seen it?
no.
He's like, it's amazing. People buy houses and you make money and you do nothing.
Yeah. And that's still, I had just had conversations with like my brother's friends, like about that. Like, oh, wow, you must make so much. I'm like, well, I mean, there are expenses and like do, but you know, everybody thinks realtors are rich, right? So it's just like, whatever. But they're like, yeah, you know, you can talk story with anybody. So, but it actually, when she'll never watch this, I'm sure. But the like lady who helped my parents like buy the place, and then later like my ex-husband and I also used her to like buy in the Hawaiian Homestead back then, and like then to sell after that. Like it wasn't great. Like she was my friend's mom, you know, and like the service was like, now as an agent, I'm like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
but even then she was like, you should like come work for us. You should intern at our office. You're so good at this stuff. Like, I'm like, am I good at this or are you bad at this? And I have to do a lot, you know, like, and I'm doing a lot more. Like I was like showing the place myself as like an 18-year-old, you know, I was like, and now I'm like, I don't think I was supposed to do that. Like, but even they were like, you should really get into it. You seem to have like a knack for it. And like, ever since then, my whole family was like, oh, you should like check it out. No. But it's a time commitment as a single mom to go back to school, you know, to like even to just take the online courses is a time commitment. And I wasn't just like a single mom at the time. I was like a really single mom. Like my other half, like who mid-divorce was just not there. You know why?
Well,
like
but especially to go do it's not like you had to go get a whole bachelor's, but to go do it to then go into what? Like a cloudy fog of how you even make money doing this.
Yeah.
My kids got to eat, but
And I was already thinking about doing it like before COVID, like while I was like deep in tourism and deep into resort, but I was just like, I would never have the time. And I just got promoted. I'm like the business ops manager, which like I thought was doing something, like, but that really means I was doing like 4 people's job for one bad salary, And I was like, I can't like leave this to go do that where it's like you only make, like, you eat what you kill and it's never guaranteed. Like it's hard, especially when you have kids, to walk away from a W-2, like for sure. Like this, if I get sick, whatever, I take some sick days, It's not like if I get sick, my whole funnel is gone for the whole month or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there was an assurance there of like, even though it was crappy and I hated what I did, like I have a regular paycheck, and I know that my bills are paid. So
like I said, my wife started work yesterday, and there's just something about, even though like she doesn't have to work, like we'd be okay. But there's something about knowing that it's a consistent paycheck. I'm like, we can go out to eat. And we already go out to eat. But I'm just like, we can go out to eat.
Now we can, and I'm not even mad about it.
Yeah,
like
we can do whatever we want to do because we have a consistent paycheck. Yeah. And there's security in that. And probably most people shouldn't go away from that.
Yeah.
But when you, in hindsight, kind of belong on the other side, it's hard, it's clear on this side of things. Yeah. But even me, I was like afraid to quit. I was afraid to quit my job that I hated. Yeah. Yeah. And I did.
It's just like the not knowing on this side of everything. Like on the other side, I always knew I was the hardest worker in the room. I always knew I was staying longer than everybody. Like I always knew I was covering for everybody. Like I always knew that. I always knew I was not getting paid enough for the amount of work that I did. I always knew that even though he and I are getting paid the same, like I'm doing way more work. Yeah. Like I always knew that, but I didn't know that translated to maybe you should be on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like
mine. So I in that when I was young and my dad was like, get a job or get a trade or I was like, my stepmom's a nurse. I don't really like do construction in Eva Beach in August. So
nurses can be in AC.
Yeah, they're in AC. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm a little bit, smart sometimes. So I should be doing something like that, white collar-ish, whatever. And then I fast forward, I joined the Coast Guard. They pay me to grow up. I accidentally like start some businesses in the interim, but I'm never like, people are like, you're a businessman. I'm like, no. I just do side hustles. Yeah. And then I end up working at Queens, and I saw how hard they work their people. I mean, people, you could see the years on them. Yeah. Like there's no disrespect to my healthcare professionals at Queens. You guys are playing an important role in Hawaii and the Pacific Ocean for that matter. Only level 1 trauma center. But anyways, I worked at a children's hospital on the mainland. I loved that. Coming here, working at Queens with adults, it was not my jam. I hated it. And I went from, when I started, they wanted me to become the like supervisor. They were like holding a position to see if I'd take it, and I wouldn't take it. Yeah. And then, because I knew, I was like, no, this is temporary. I'm going to go into real estate. And then fast forward almost a year later, I was barely working. I would work like 2 days a month. Our savings is going backwards, but I just know I'm not happy. Yeah. Like something's got to change in my life. I can't do this. Yeah. And I had found an off-market property to flip. And I was telling his name's Jeremy. Shout out to Jeremy. I was telling him about it. I was like, bro, you think I should go full-time in real estate? Because like I hardly work. And I got this flip. I'm probably going to make, it was like a big amount of money. And he looked at me. He's like, bro, you don't belong here. And I was like, what? And he's like, you have a staffing company. So I staffed X-ray techs at a certain thing. So I would employ the people that worked as my peers. I would employ them as a business owner. And I was going to flip this property. And then all I'd talk about is that kind of stuff, right? And he's like, D, some people just don't belong here, bro. You don't belong. You're like, you know what you're doing as a tech. You don't belong here. Yeah. And he helped to nudge me. And then I started real estate. Within 3 months, I'm like the top guy in the office. Yeah. And my mentor at the time, he's like, how were you ever an employee? Yeah. Because you're like, you're disruptive. Yeah. and all the things that entrepreneurs are. But he's like, how'd you make it in the military, first of all? And then how do you even hold a job? Like, you're not employable. And it was obvious after I came, and then I became, if I wanted to report my numbers, like the team's numbers, the way some of these team leaders report them, and put all 50, 60 million of production plus in my name, I would rank top, I think 2022, I could have ranked top like 15 agents on Oahu if I did it that way, or maybe top 10.
Yeah.
But because we do it the way we do it, just whoever's participating, I was in the top 80, 60, something like that. But not to brag, but to achieve that in this game where it's a 90% failure rate, and of that's more than the top 1%. That's the top fractions of a percent.
Yeah.
People be like, oh, so obvious.
Yeah.
Not for me, not with the way I grew up, my limited mindset, my fear, my lack of modeling around me of, business people and business mindset or just other, mindset.
Just so different in general.
Same mindset. For you, right? Yeah. Same for you. Like right now it seems so obvious, but when did we meet? What? That's like June. Spring to summer of 2021.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think I joined the brokerage around that time. And
so about a year or so prior, you had gotten your license and were like at the brokerage.
Just like months prior. Like I got licensed in February, I believe.
Oh, really? Only months prior?
Yes. And then
I always thought it was like a long, like 9 months.
No, just a little bit. But in the short time that I was at like this other small like mom and pop brokerage, and the like broker in charge there was like a mentor to both of us, Yeah. And so I stayed because I didn't really know what you're supposed to do. Because like nobody tells you like what you're supposed to do after you get your license. You pass a test and then like.
Well, and they start telling you to go on coffees. And like take people, go join Toastmasters.
Yes, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, this just seems like, okay, like all right, whatever. So I like did all the things and like was in all the Zooms because it was like post-COVID-ish time. So everything was like it was all Zoom, and like people weren't going on coffees. People weren't like doing that kind of stuff really. But even then I was just like, okay, like this, I am brand new here, but I feel like this, like I'm not learning anything. Like I feel like hesitant to answer questions because I know that's the wrong answer that you just gave, but like I just got here. So like, I'm not going to say anything, And then the opportunity came to move over to a different brokerage, and I did. And that's when I like met you the first day that I came over.
And to people listening, this isn't if you're like, well, what's the point gonna be? Bear with it because it's applicable outside of real estate. Yeah, like we're realtors, and so we realtor associate. We're real estate agents, and so we tend to talk about things in that framework. But this, for my local people listening, if you're unhappy at your job or whatever, I think there's some nuggets to be picked up here.
Yes,
you don't got to do real estate.
Yeah.
You don't have to especially agents and or investors, everything's like take a cold shower in the morning and go sell a house. It's like, or you could like do AC. Or if you're a painter, like start the painting company. Yeah. My most successful friend, he owns a painting company. Yeah. And so, but anyways, you had been kind of fumbling around. You joined the brokerage where we're at. Yep.
And, did all the boot campy stuff, but it felt very employee still, like.
Did it?
Yes. Because it was everybody is an independent, but here are the rules. Don't break this rule. Like don't wear this, don't wear that. Like take out your piercings, cover your tattoos, like be here at this o'clock, and like do this many dials. And so it was very like, instructional and like this is your task, you do this.
But most people need that structure. That's why brokerages and or big teams in real estate do that, because they're like, if left to your own device, you can play Call of Duty or whatever. Yeah. So we have this framework for you. We can't say that you have to do anything because you're an independent contractor and that's against the law. But if you want to be a part of this brokerage or a part of this team, the recommended time to get here is blank. We if you want to use our technology leverage, you better make these phone calls.
Yeah.
You better call these people. You better do these things.
Yeah.
Or you don't get to chill with us, basically.
Yes.
You don't get to kick it.
Yeah.
So.
And that was all fine because I was brand new, and can't remember if I had like, I think like shit just got real because like my unemployment from being laid off from like resort was like just like stopped.
You know, or COVID stimulus check stopping and stuff.
Yeah, like all that stuff was like just coming to an end. So I was like, I'm screwed, man. Like, okay, like.
And you're living back home with family.
Yeah, I was living
sleeping.
in a very bad like living situation, like not healthy for me, not healthy for my kids. Just like I had no plan B, and I knew like with 100% certainty that I just needed to make it happen.
Yeah.
Like, and it just like kind of happened that, I don't know, you call it like serendipity or luck or just right place, right time, like right people, right time. Like it all ended up working itself out through like just pouring your energy into something and believing in and having like a person be like, no, yeah, you can, like, I think there's just like not, I don't know if that's like a local thing or what, but it's like, it's so conditional of like, yeah, I love you and I believe in you. But if you do this, like if you also,
what you mean?
Like if you go to school or if you take over the family business or if you, you do this or if you stay home and you take care of your mom or whatever, it's just like the gung-ho-ness and all about you is all there until you like decide to be on a different path. And then it's like, oh, you're going to do that. Like,
well, it's hard for humans to support something that they don't understand.
Yeah.
So if we're, I digress a bit, but if we're in South Polynesia and I'm like, you know what? Let's go learn celestial navigation and just go try to find some different islands. Most people are like, no, I'm good. You know, or if you're in like Russia and you're like, hey, we go walk across this ice. They're like, nah, I'm good.
That's okay. Like, why would you do that?
Right. So it's the crabs in a bucket. My like thing is, they don't.
Do you
mean
think
to
that
be
that's
mean.
like worse here in Hawaii?
Because
our bucket is smaller. Like,
I don't think so. I don't think so because I come from poverty on the mainland, and I think that poverty shows its face similarly everywhere. Like Theo Von, a comedian, he's like, he said something like, "Man, it wasn't white and black where I'm from. We was all poor. We was just poor."
Yeah.
I think that poverty and the mindset that can grow in, like the environment that it's conducive to. Now, some people go a different direction, left, right, up, down, sideways. But some of the commonalities that are there correlated with poverty, it's just whether you're in Florida or Hawaii, it's similar.
Yeah.
I think it's similar. And so I don't think it's uniquely local, but I do. It's interesting. Like I used to try and act like, nah. But I started visiting and I moved here when I was young, so I'm local. I'm like, I am. I'm whatever. I'm mixed now.
Yeah.
But I like it that I have this different. I'm able to see it from both sides because I'll hear Hawaii people say like, nah, but Hawaii, that's why. Hawaii. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like poverty, abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Toxic tendencies, those things the same, no matter your color.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think aloha is unique, though. Aloha can be very unique, but Southern hospitality, it can be very charming and endearing too. Like I know people from Guam, it's a like very similar thing, but the poverty on Guam probably looks a lot like the poverty in Hawaii too.
Yeah.
Poverty in Florida, the poverty in, there's differences, but there's a lot of commonalities too, a lot of overlap.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's unique to Hawaii. Is my point. But when you started real estate, you're still like very, I don't know. I'm just trying to, I was supposed to go back to college. I didn't. So now I'm doing this. Yeah. There's one funny thing I remember about the beginning of when we started to work together. And then there is one more serious thing. There's two things that stand out in the early days of us, figuring each other out. But are there any certain things that stand out to you?
I mean, there's like a bunch of things that stand out to me.
There's a bunch, a bunch.
I think the time when you asked me if I feel like, or if I think I'm like smarter than people or better than people or something, and I was like,
serious one for me.
I was like, I don't even know. I feel like this is a trap. Like,
yeah, I remember you acting like that too.
well, because like we didn't know each other that well, and so like now it's just like I already know when you're making any kind, you know, like. But back then I didn't, so I was just like, and I was like trying to like be close to you so that I could learn from you.
Yeah.
So it's like a level of like, okay, am I supposed to like say the right thing here? You know, like, am I supposed to be humble and be like, no, never.
Like an interview. You're an interview.
Yeah,
mode.
it felt like that a little bit, but I was just like, whatever. And I was just like, yeah, I do. Like,
so to lay the framework for people, Mahe comes to this brokerage and they're like, hey, I want you to be in these new people are going to interview to come to our brokerage. And I was like, okay. But I was shooting videos that day. I just really started the content thing. And Kenji, shout out to Kenji. We were shooting videos. And I was like, hey, we're going to do Ever Beach today because I got to do these interviews after. So I'm wearing slippers, T-shirt.
It was a Bike Factory T-shirt.
Bike Factory T-shirt.
Yeah,
and then they had been like, okay, the top producer of the brokerage is going to be there.
Yeah.
And then I'm there, right? Like in my slippers and T-shirt. And my previous mentor and the broker owner, he's like, we're interviewing today. I was like, I know we're interviewing today, but this is how I dress on YouTube.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right. But little did he know, that's the exact thing where you're like, so this is the top producer.
Yes.
Oh, that's major then.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So you're like, I don't know what teams are, but if that's a team, that's the team. And Colina worked with me at that time. Mm-hmm. So another local mom.
I love. Yeah.
We still love. She doesn't work with us anymore, but we love her.
But yeah, I remember you came and I was like, you know, I'm freaking killing this, you know, like
dress up.
I'm dressed to the I got my heels on. Like I bought a new shirt, you know, like I'm buttoned up and look good, you know, whatever. And I think I even like took one of my piercings out and stuff. Like I was just like just one, like this one, the middle one. I only had one puka back then.
If you're gonna take one out,
it was this one. Yeah. So I took this guy out and was like, you know, whatever. And they had been like talking it up, like, yeah, our top producers are gonna come. I'm like, okay, you know, like here we go. And then you walked in and I'm just like, what? Like I was like, where's the guy? Like
so where you staying at?
I know, where he staying at. But it like maybe it didn't initially click right away. Like later it did, but initially it very much so clicked. Of like I went home and like called my auntie, who was like, you know,
Auntie Fran,
who's like my auntie mom, you know, like my second mom, and she's back on Maui, and I call her and I'm like, okay, so like telling her how it went, whatever. I'm pretty sure I killed it, whatever. I was like, oh, this guy came in, he's like the top producer, but he's like this local brother, and he had like a T-shirt and slippers on. And she's like, okay. I was like, no, but he's like the top producer. I was like, but you know, like he seemed very smart, kind of like, you know, didn't like say too much. They asked a few like challenging questions, but
that was rare because I had done some interviews before where they were like, hey, you're taking over.
Yeah.
Like no.
But you did. No, you were so cool. I'm like, now in retrospect, I'm like, you were making any kind. Like that was making any kind for you. But, you know, you just were like subdued and stuff. And I just didn't know what that meant. I was like, you know, I don't know what like it means to like work with someone. But I like had decided already. Like
I was still figuring that out too. Because Colina was like mentoring with me.
Yeah.
And she wanted to learn. So I was like, okay, just do all this other stuff then.
Yeah.
So I can focus on other things. I can focus on getting more clients if you do paperwork and
shout out to Colina because pretty much all the contract stuff I know, she ran through all of that with me in the beginning, right. In her very organized, color coordinated way. Like she is something that you and I are not.
Yes.
So shoot, we needed a Colina.
I wish she still stuck around.
I know. Anyway,
yeah. So there was that, and then as you're at the brokerage, they're telling you to wear long sleeves.
Yep.
Take out your piercings.
Take out my piercings. Always be long sleeve, all the way buttoned up, all that stuff. And I'm just like, man, like this just feels wrong, you know? And like, I'm like, okay, whatever. Dress code is dress code, whatever. If to be part of the brokerage, you need to be in a sort of dress code, whatever. Like that's fine.
If you're new to real estate and they're telling you dress like the quintessential realtor, then you're like,
okay. Yeah. That's, I mean, I have no like concept of what any of this is supposed to be anyway.
Yeah.
But what it did feel was very like not me. Mm-hmm. And I just like knew that even in my last career, like I should not have been as much myself as I was, but I was. And then I got promoted, you know, because I just was like, screw it. Like the clients like me how I am. Like, so I'm going to be loud. I'm going to have piercings. I'm going to have tattoos. I'm going to talk story with whoever. And it got me promoted, but it just felt like, okay, I'm not me. Who's going to trust me pretending to be somebody else, And then it's like, I'm new to a business and I need to get like my people who have known me my whole life to believe me as this business person. But now I have like a whole different wardrobe and I don't use the same words anymore. Like I talk different, I look different, I act different. Like it just all was like very scary and like, oh no, like maybe I'm not cut out for real estate then. Like maybe real estate is not for me. And then aligning with you is when I learned like that's not all real estate. Doesn't all have to be that way. That is a very specific way to do real estate and it works for a hell of a lot of people.
Yeah. I was in an interesting time too because I was like you could say I had already started my separation with that brokerage at the time because I came, I conquered, I did good, conquered, whatever. So sell more real estate than anyone else in a small pond for 7 months.
Yeah.
But then, our guy, he started to take the number one throne seat and I'm like off on an island, me and Colina and I just off on the side and still like getting like words of affirmation, but they were just words,
Yeah.
There was like way less behind them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you guys are good. And I wasn't selling as much for like a few months. And so I just was kind of rejected and off to the side. And then I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm going to wear slippers. You guys going to have dress code, then I'm not going to come.
Yeah.
And in that environment, that especially didn't fly. So it was already like drifting away.
Yeah.
Whether separating at the time yet, probably not, because I still wanted to make it work. But certainly drifting in a different direction. And then, you come along. And then I didn't know until months later, you're like, I intentionally was like trying to be on the team. And I was like, I didn't notice. And I didn't even know that I had a team, But I remember asking Colina, I was like, you think we should invite that girl to, that new girl to sit open house? And, she's like, yeah. I'm like, you don't mind? Because I was always like approached it with respect. Like you ended up for sure taking the front row seat and Colina's not with us anymore, but it's all love, right?
Yeah.
But she was like, yeah, come. And so the funny thing is, you know what I'm going to say?
What?
We're at the open house in Kailua and then this guy comes through and I'm not vibing with. I'm like, hey, how's it? Oh, welcome.
Yeah.
And from walking in, I felt like he was just kind of stuck up.
Yeah.
And, the whole interaction, I was like, bro, this guy think he better than everybody. And they drove up in their Porsche.
Yeah.
And then Jack and Mahe, the guy leaves and she's like, how's this freaking guy? By the way, not suitable for work. Got to put that on the Apple podcast and everything. She's like, how's this fucking guy? It was Balenciaga tee and his freaking girlfriend with her at a kind and driving off in a Porsche. Like, psh. And I looked at Colina and I was like, how's this girl? I was like, we don't know her that well either.
Yeah, but how's that guy?
And I didn't know fully what Balenciaga was at the time, but I was like, I feel like that's like you wearing a T-shirt, but that thing costs $100-something.
Yep, more than that.
And you think you better than me.
So you're wearing Balenciaga T-shirt, like okay, like whatever. Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's the funny thing I remember. And then the other thing, back to all the mindset and warm and fuzzies, I forget why you had to come by.
To drop something off pick something up or something. I can't remember.
And so we're talking and I'm like, so how's it going? How are the showings? Because I wasn't like letting you or anyone in, you know? But I'm willing to I want to see everyone succeed. Yeah. As long as you ain't trying to screw me over, you know. But so I'm measured and calculated, but I'm asking you questions, and and I was like, "Are you ever in like these group trainings?" And you're like, "I think I'm smarter than these people, or better than these, or something to that effect, right?" Yeah. And I remember you being very uncomfortable, like kind of twitching, like.
the leg twitch for
You're
sure.
kinda like-
I was like leaned up against my car with my leg going. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
You're
know how
like,
I'm supposed to answer that question.
And she's like, well, yeah. And I was like, good. Well, if you want to succeed in this game where 90% of people fail, of those 10%, a lot of them aren't eating out of this, from this profession, this industry.
Yeah.
It's just such a bloodbath of an industry. You better be better than other people.
Yeah.
And I remember you're like, as like the way I was raised, like you would never say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, I get it, but the way you were raised or whatever isn't gonna lead to success either.
Yeah. It's not gonna feed your kids.
And that was like a big like for me. I don't know like where the turning points were for you, but I feel like that conversation for you,
Yeah.
from the outside looking in, was probably like a shifting point of like, oh, okay.
That one for sure. And then do you remember like, I don't know if I texted you because I didn't call you because I was crying, but I was like reading Rich Dad Poor Dad. I was listening to the audiobook, which was like,
well, this is a 2-part. This is part A, part B.
I was listening to the audiobook and I don't even remember like what part, because there were so many parts in that book that just like blew my mind. It's just like, oh my God, my parents were wrong. Like,
You need to listen to it again.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do. I feel like that just needs to be listened to like at
least
every
once a year.
different stage of like things you do, because you just hear it from like a completely different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But where I was listening to it from was just like scarcity, poor forever, never gonna make more than this. Like,
Hey, stop hitting the
oh,
table.
sorry. But and I just like cried because I was just like, holy shit, because it like there's such a reprogramming that has to happen to be successful in general, but like especially to be like a generational breaking point in your family. Like, so much reprogramming needs to happen for you to even like allow yourself to think that that's okay. To have the audacity to think that you can be the one in your family to change the generational like poverty and like shift that mindset. It just was, it's like, and plus two being like local and like Hawaiian and Japanese of like,
And a female.
Because
like your brothers went to college and stuff, but you kind of have like an adjacent. I'm surprised we got through this whole podcast without adjacent.
You said it first, not
Because
me.
you be saying that all the time. No, but to get, you had like an adjacent path, right? Like, you're Kahale and whatever, but you're female.
But I'm a female, and I'm a female when the matriarch is dying, and I'm a female that has to take the matriarch's place as a child, to like, there are just different like societal roles that we play as male and female in my family, at least, and in a lot of like, that wealth bracket family as well.
The audacity to, man, don't misgender me.
I'm just saying. Just saying.
Mahe's an interesting one too. I can't even get into all of it, but she's.
But just, like, and you knowing me as like, more open and more left and more like a lot more progressive in certain things, but very much so like I walked this path because that's what my family needed me to do, and I played the traditional role and I did what needed to be done, whatever.
Yeah, you're interesting in that. You're definitely kind of a 1930s woman and like a left modern woman at the same time.
And so it's like a weird dichotomy of like those two things mashed together.
Yeah.
But it was just very like, holy shit, like, wait, I can do that? Like, I don't have to be apologetic to feel that way. Like, I can love and respect and appreciate my parents and still think that they did it wrong, and still wish that they had done it different. Like, all of these like pendulum like shifts like happen, and like that is super important, I feel like, because I think a lot of people might, like, from myself, I'm going to speak like personally, like I felt like I couldn't like do more or like be more without disrespecting where I come from. And I felt like it was, wrong to try to look at a different path or wrong to like think that, because like my parents were definitely the ones in the family who like took us out of the bad neighborhood, and like who had the good job, whatever. And like, who bought a house later, you know, like all the things that everybody else in our family like hadn't done yet. And so while they did like accomplish a lot of things, it's just like there are so many different things that I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's like such like a scarcity mindset that we lived in our whole lives. Like that was such like a fear-based living, fear-based way of life, the way we did everything all the time of like achieving just this much, that we're not outside of this bracket so that we can stay, you know, getting financial aid, you know, and like just like certain thing, like limitations that we just put on ourselves to do just enough to get by.
Yeah, I didn't have that. I didn't have the. You kind of had the nail that sticks up gets hammered, like from Japan mindset, as both that Asian Hawaiian woman and as a woman. Yeah. Like in this world that you existed in. I didn't have that, whether it be for gender reasons or just, you know, I never thought like, oh, it'd be bad if I succeeded or disruptive, because I really don't give a shit who I disrupt, you know. But I definitely had I don't know if I thought I might be homeless at some point. I was like, I'm not good at anything I do. And I'm not good at school. I'm not good at work. My dad, good worker. They loved him at work. He washed his car every Sunday. He cut the grass. Diligent man, you know. And I'm like, I hate all of that. Yeah. My car can be dirty. Yeah. You know, put rocks. I don't even like I'm not a
pave the whole thing. I don't care.
Yeah. Like but so I had like I'll never succeed because I don't like doing things.
Yeah. I feel like until mid-30s. I feel like Joey has a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So different, but we both had limiting beliefs is the commonality. Yeah. And then you read Rich Dad, which isn't my doing. I just recommended a book. Yeah. That's Robert Kiyosaki. But it can be very shifting, revealing, disruptive to your mindset. A lot of things, yeah. Can change a lot of things.
It can definitely change a lot of things and make you question a lot of things that you just knew to be true your whole life.
You thought to be true.
Yeah, you just like, you were so sure, you know, your whole life.
So you call me, you're crying, you're like, and what I remember, you're like, I screwed my kids up.
Yes.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the mindset that was passed down to me, like I already gave it to my kids and it's too late. Yeah. Yeah.
That, oh my God, I kind of like forgot about that. Like that very important part of that conversation. That's why I was crying.
That was the thing.
Yeah. Because I was like, I fucked up.
Yeah.
I fucked up. Like, I just knew that all these things were the right thing to do and they weren't, and now we're screwed. But and it's not even like I don't want to like make the mistake of being like, I am successful and I've done it, because I'm not there yet. Like I'm very much so still learning and very much still growing and very, very much still trying to unprogram a lot of shit for myself. Like there's still so much that I have like a very fear-based scarcity mindset, but I'm learning and I'm growing like with every month, every year that comes by, like. And it's just like we have to like stop thinking that we are like too old or we have done too much or we are too established in this to do something different. Because I've had like 2 entire different lives before I even did this, you know, like I've had entire different lives and different identities before being who I am now. And I'm nowhere near the version of the person I want to be or I aspire to be.
And you are 40 now.
No. I'm 36, but like even that, like you think like, and that's like, I feel like when I was like getting into real estate, it's like some of these kids are freaking literal children,
in real estate,
or just, you know, graduating from college, you know, like I'm going to go back to school now. What? I already have kids. I'm 35 years old. Like what?
Too late.
It's too freaking late, you know, like.
I think a lot of people have that mindset. I think
100%.
A lot of people feel like mid-30s kids too late, like life is
that's it, like
write it out to the 401k,
whatever. Yeah, just get a good job and just figure it out, like get the best job you can get and then you're fine. That's just not true. And like I feel like there is no better, I mean I'm sure there is, but I feel like a very good person to base that's not true, because like I have children. I have no partner. I have no money from family. I have nothing, you know, and it was not too late.
You were sleeping. I always mess it up. Maybe I throw a little extra on this story, but I always tell people you were sleeping on a bunk bed.
Yes.
Daughter up top, you and son below.
Yep.
and you're on food stamps, but that wasn't. You got like WIC,
I was on unemployment and WIC.
Unemployment and WIC.
No, I'm sorry. I was on food stamps, not WIC. You say WIC.
Oh, I say WIC.
You say WIC. It was food stamps. Yes, yeah.
Brooke is too old to be.
It was too old for WIC already.
WIC
So we
to be
didn't get free
drinking.
cheese, but I did get to buy cheese with my food stamps. So,
okay.
But yeah, so food stamps, stimulus checks, a room not even as big as this room that we're in right now.
Really? The
Not
bedroom
even
is
this
smaller
big.
than this?
Not even this big.
Wow.
And it was like in my family's house, right? So it wasn't even truly our space. Like the closet, this very small closet that was already had stuff inside.
Wow.
Even underneath the bunk bed had stuff inside. Like
Yeah.
I had a storage container, or I'm sorry, a storage unit.
Yeah.
And that's where like my whole life, which I had been reduced to like a 5x7 storage unit, storage locker. And it just like this much space this way and less space this way.
So if you're listening, she's saying around the bunk bed, you had less, like
a
2
couple
feet,
feet maybe.
2 feet
Yeah.
on the 2 sides of the bunk bed that weren't butted up against the wall.
Yes. That's how much
And the
space
window,
we
I'm sure,
had.
yeah.
Hot as hell, single wall, like
No AC.
no AC.
Not that you use AC.
Not that I would. I mean, I
but-
would have if we had it over there.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Just on the one hand, very grateful to have not been homeless, because that could have been. It was that or a shelter, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
what else would I have done?
Right.
But just very like, oh my God, like, what am I gonna do? So,
Which I didn't realize that. I didn't, you don't
mean,
open up and.
I'm like,
to- I'm like,
hey,
oh,
I live
she
in a bunk
lived-
bed, guys.
She
Like,
lived with her family then. Like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
yeah, but it was, just so if you need somebody to tell you that you can restart, like you definitely can, because just at the point in my life where it's just like, I can't, even questioning like, maybe I shouldn't have gotten divorced, even though like that definitely was a very bad situation for me to be in, like, oh, why did I, like,
Yeah, because
we had,
not like you was getting alimony.
No,
Not
yeah,
like you
not-
getting child support.
no. So just, you can restart is the point. Like
Yeah.
no matter what stage you are in your life, like I was probably at the lowest of lows with like, I mean, you have nothing to lose, I guess, like when you're all negative, everything already.
It doesn't have to be real estate too.
Just anything. Like, and you know what I will say, like when I was in college for the couple years that I was taking courses before I dropped out, the people who worked their asses off were the older students. The people who actually were paying attention were the older students.
Yeah, purpose.
Because it's their money that they're spending. They've already spent years and years building a career, having a family, doing other things. And now this is their opportunity to decide what they want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're the ones busting ass. Yeah, they're the ones getting good grades. And like, that's just like, you want to go back to school? Go. You can, just because some 20-year-old is getting their degree paid for by their parents or by whatever. Like that doesn't mean that you cannot be a student thriving and doing just as good or better and get a better job than them too.
Yeah.
Like there are just so many opportunities out there for us that like we don't take the chance at, because just nobody around us is telling us like, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you were really, when I started real estate, I didn't have much money and I was going backwards in my savings, and I took a leap because I was like, man, these people working at Queens, they're working so hard.
Yeah.
They're working so, if I cannot see how me, I thought I was smarter than some people, and
Yeah.
not the smartest in the room ever, but a little bit on the other side of average, I would think. And if I apply myself, and the other thing too is, I'm not saying like naturally better than anyone, but I had listened to hundreds and hundreds of hours of podcasts, business books, how to grow a property management business, how to do real estate investing, how to do all, like I had consumed enough that I knew I was a little different.
Yeah.
Through consumption and also through some hard shit that I went through,
Yeah.
whether voluntarily or involuntarily. So I was like, if I work as hard as these people work in this hospital, which they get worked to the bone,
Yeah.
can I not at least sell a handful of homes to like make it? I think I can.
Yeah.
But I wasn't as like rock bottom as you at the moment.
Yeah.
And so, but I remember so there was that, you're like, oh, I screwed my kids up. We talked about it. And I was like, yep, you definitely did. No. We talked about it, and And I don't know if I lent you my board game or I waited to buy it for you.
You bought it for me.
But you played the Rich Dad Poor Dad game called Cash Flow with your kids. You called me back crying again.
Yeah.
I didn't screw them up.
Yeah, because Brooke was like getting it, you know,
Yeah.
like he was getting the concept. I'm like, okay, it's not too late. Like, not only did I not screw myself up, like if it's not too late for me, it's not too late for my kids, you know, like it's just what a freaking crazy couple years it's been. Like,
crazy,
crazy.
But I'll show. So for those people, for like the local people out there, I think Mahe is a good local Maras, you know, local whoever. I think Mahe is a good example because you were in a dark place, and now world's different. And we'll talk about the success, but in that path to it, get around someone. And so for you, that was me.
Yeah.
For me, that was someone else. So I'm not trying to make it about me, but to your credit, like you got around me, and I was just a little ahead of you on this journey. I was just 5 years ahead or whatever. And also going for it, working myself into sickness. Yeah. Taking big risks. Yeah. Screwing some shit up. Yeah. Losing money, making money. Yeah. And so I was ahead, and I was but not so far ahead that I couldn't help. And so, yes, I played a part in that. But for you, which I think anyone could replicate if they want to, Aiden is doing it right now. Get around someone, bring them a ton of value, be willing to learn, and just work your ass off. Yeah. Because in that year or so to follow, like your bus thing had screwed up. So you had to take your kids to Kamehameha and pick them up. Yeah. You know, you're living North Shore. Yep. Still with the family. Yep. And then this whole Core Team Hawaii thing started to pick up and saying like the thing I was building, you come in at the right time. Yeah. So serendipitous for me as well. And you're just like, okay, like yes to everything. Yeah. Like, and I remember I had to tell you like, hey, if you're disease, like if you have this autoimmune thing and it's flaring up, like rest, I got you. Like let me do some work. Yeah. Oh
my God, I forgot. I'm like Graves' disease.
I haven't heard that from you in a long time.
It's in remission now.
But at the time, you're like
having a hard time.
I'll write the contract or I'll show the house.
But then I need to be in total darkness for 12 hours because
let me just lay down for 2 hours and take medicine. Or I was like, what? Yeah. And so, anyways, finding the right person and for the thing is someone out there listening, they may not be the fit to come into this team and do that with me or you. They might be a better fit for some other situation, but find something to pour into. Yeah. And what's the worst case? You learn, you grow, and you pivot. Yeah. So, yeah, I played a part, but it was, I'm lucky that you came along as well. And we all grow because of it. And any person out there, they can go find, like I talk about my friend who owns a painting company. If they get around him and learn how to paint, and then, hey, anything extra you need, I got you. Yeah. Worst case, they're going to become one of his number one guys who makes life-changing money. Yeah. Or if they, they can go out and do it themselves. Someone who owns an AC company. Yeah. Freaking car dealership. Yeah. I bet you if I went to sell cars right now and I started a podcast about Hawaii and talked about cars and just did everything obsessively to sell more cars, I would win, to some level. Yeah. I might not be the best on the island, but I would eat. My kids would eat. Yeah. And anybody can do that, whether Hawaii or not. I mean, this podcast is for Hawaii, but.
And just for Hawaii specifically, too, we have to be open to being around new people. Because we a lot of the time stick with the same friends and family that we have always known, and that's nothing wrong with that. But if you are not surrounded by people who you aspire to be like, if you're like the most successful one in the room all the time, or the smartest one in the room all the time, there's no room for you to grow. There's no room for you to do more. So you have to be willing to open yourself up to new people and to put yourself into scary situations where you are the dumb one, you are the one who knows the least. Just the first few months of us working together, I'd be like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, that's okay. Can you use words that I understand? Or like, or even just, not in just real estate, but anything you're learning a new something. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
different language. You don't understand it. And you have to be like willing to be stupid, to feel dumb every
Yeah.
once in a while. Be like, hey, I don't know what that means.
You gotta
Like,
be uncomfortable.
yeah,
Whether you're in the gym
so
or in
uncomfortable.
life,
Yeah.
if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
Yep.
And there's times to seek comfort and maintenance. But if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing. And I used to make her so uncomfortable.
Oh my
she'd
God.
be like gagging.
I'd be like nauseated. Like, and he'd
I'd
be
be
like, how
like-
was that? Like, it'd be like a phone call that I'd be shadowing on. I'm not even having the conversation. I'm just like,
oh, the listening ones, yeah.
just listening to the conversation.
Or I'd be like, she'd be like, so there's this thing, and the person's super mad, and the blank, and then if it doesn't go, like $100,000 could be lost, whatever. And I'd be like, okay, go call him and tell him then. She'd be like, what? I thought you was. I was like, no, call him and tell
And
him.
then it would be like, oh my God. I remember being in that little shitty room. I had like one of those mirrors that you like hang on the back of your door,
Oh, in the white little home?
Yeah, in the Wailua house.
Oh, okay.
And I'd be like, you just told me, and I would like go over like the bullet points with you before, and it'd like be like 2 hours later, I'd make the actual phone call, because I'd be like in the mirror, like, okay, and then if they say this, you say this, and then if they don't, then you say that, and like
You
just
would rehearse?
no, I swear to God, like I would like play it back. And like, okay, but if they do, if it just would take me so long, I'd have to like play the right music and like, just like really amp myself
Well,
up.
you listened to Beyonce. And then made
Beyonce.
the
That was
phone
like like Spotify, rewind was hella Beyonce that year because I just had to like bad bitch energy myself, like it like fake it into it, but like I was so wildly uncomfortable for like all of that stuff. But now I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's so funny. Like I can't even believe that I thought my life was gonna end because of that conversation. Like
yeah.
that's just I could have said, no, I can't do this, because I definitely was like, I cannot do this. For a lot of the stuff, I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for that, but you can, you just have to freaking try, imagine if I had been like, this is too much. Like, I don't even know like where I would be right now. Like what I have no idea what I would be doing. Like if I had just been like, this is too hard. Like, cause it was hard.
Yeah.
Like that year of like work, like when we first were getting together, like shit was hard. We didn't have systems yet. We didn't have like anything. It was just like
assistants.
we didn't have
Virtual
assistants.
assistant,
We didn't have leverage. We didn't have anything. It was just like, here we are working our asses off. Like,
But if you had come in and I had all that built, you wouldn't have learned at the same speed and stuff.
no way.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that, for like the timing of it. And I want to be careful to not be like, oh, I'm so lucky, because I also worked my ass off,
Yeah.
really, really hard. But I am like very grateful for just the way things worked out and the timing in which things worked out, because it gave me an opportunity to like really bust ass and to really learn and to really like gain the skill that I have now just through just like, you just got to do it. There's like all of these reps you have to do with just zero experience, and just like figure it out and grow and learn. And otherwise we lose all of this. And otherwise you kids don't eat. And otherwise you go back to the bunk bed,
Well, another moment, I remember you called me, you're like, hey, my friend, which is her fiance now. She's like, my friend said I could rent his place. Like, do you think I should do it? And I'm like, yeah. And you're like, that's crazy. To like, what? It's gonna cost X. And
yeah. But at that time I wasn't making that much money.
Yeah.
Like,
well, you just started.
I just started, and we only really just started to like actually like close some deals together, like, so it definitely wasn't like a.
You were picking up. You were just picking up. It was, I could see I'd be uncomfortable.
Yeah, it was. I like just it was like a zero balance to like some money in the account, which was like new for me, and like, oh shit, like hoard it, because like if shit hits the fan again, like whatever, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So that was a big leap, but I was like, so what if blank? Would you, these are the steps needed to succeed in real estate. If you were going to lose your rental or your kids weren't going to eat, would you be willing to X? An example might be like make 10,000 phone calls in 1 month or whatever. You're like, yeah, I could do that. I'm like, well, just go rent the place then.
Yeah, then just
easy for me, because again, when I was going to move back home, it was scary. When I was going to quit healthcare, I was super scared.
Yeah.
When I was going to buy my first house,
Yeah.
I was scared and had people telling me like, bro, why are you scared? You're killing.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but buy a house.
Yeah.
And I had conceptually, I knew like, well, you get a loan and you just make an payment, appreciation, tax benefit. But then for me to go do it, I was like, that's scary to me.
Yeah.
To this day, to buy a third house or whatever, for me is scary.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't grow up talking about mutual funds at the dinner table, you know.
Yeah.
We barely had dinner table.
Yeah.
So,
Wait,
anyways.
what's the dinner table? You mean the TV stand in front of the, like, what you talk about? The
Yeah.
TV trays? Like,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the dinner table.
You went McDonald's in my mom's backseat. But so now today, fast forward, you are selling a bunch of real estate. You can't go somewhere without someone noticing who you are, barely. What'd you say? At least half the time, if you go to a public place, someone stops you to say hi?
Probably half the time.
Half the time. And the other times you figure they're just not saying anything.
Yeah.
So probably 2/3 of the time, at least someone's like, oh, that's the girl, the real estate girl.
Yeah.
Certainly not worried about rent anymore.
Yeah.
Engaged. Not necessarily even together, but you yourself should be buying a house this year.
Yep.
All in what, 2.5 years?
Yeah. If even.
2
Like 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah.
Crazy. And so anyone who's listening to this and like, oh, I was going to use it for my real estate agent, or I was going to call Derek and Mahe, but only 2 years. Well, there's time and there's experience.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how many transactions that is. Like,
more in 2 years than many of your uncles and your aunties who have their license. Don't mean to throw any shade, but more people who more experience in those 2.5 years than some people's career. You know? Not all. Plenty of other great people out there that do real estate, but a ton. Yeah. A lot of difference, a lot of change. And so what would you tell people, like, if there's a mom or a person who's like, you know what, I am also, whether local or not, you know, whether local or not, they're like, hey, I also am in a dark place, or I was taught to have a low self-worth, or I'm from local poverty. Yeah, they sold drugs out of my house too, and nobody ever owned a house, you know. All our alternators are broken. Whatever. How do I shift? I mean, because what I saw from the outside is like, make a decision first, succeed or no other option, and then get around someone whom you want to feel good about learning from and pouring into the whole vision. Yeah. But maybe it's just greater than. Maybe that's just a simple version. Like, how do they succeed? How do they, whether employee or not, like, how do they succeed in Hawaii?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, it starts with yourself. Like, and everybody can tell you that either you're too smart to be doing that, or, you know, whatever it might be. But all of that really, it starts with your whole self. And like, I know it's like, sounds dumb and it's super cliche, but like every successful person, whether that be like an athlete or, you know, a king or, you know, a business owner, like not every single freaking person in their life before them was successful. Like somewhere down that line, there was like somebody in poverty or somebody like just not doing well. And it just takes one person in your whole line to just stop that. So for me and for a lot of other people like me, we have nothing to model after. We have nobody before us to model like what we want. And we don't even necessarily know what we want, because we don't know, like, we measure success differently than everybody measures success differently. And when you've been modeled it in one way, where it's just like, you have a job and you can pay your bills and that's success, then that's your level of success that you aspire to. And that's okay. But you have to like be open to reprogramming and changing your mindset of like what you think you are worth and what you believe you are able to have and you are capable of doing. Because yeah, if you say like, oh, I'm never gonna make this, then you are never going to make that. You are just not going to. Like, I remember, and I also wanted to point out, like, you know, we are talking about putting yourself next to somebody who you want to learn from, who you want to grow from, who you aspire to be like. And maybe that person is a podcast. Maybe that person is somebody on YouTube. Maybe
For me, it was a lot of that.
Maybe that person is on IG. Maybe that's not somebody you personally know, but you can put yourself next to them. You can like consume obsessively the things that, you know, they are putting out there. Like, you don't need to have proximity necessarily. Like, even if you are just not, it's just not in your wheelhouse. It's just not in your current state of affairs or capability or status quo to put yourself proximally close to somebody like that. Everybody get one phone, or everybody can go on YouTube at the library or whatever, you know, like there's just so much opportunity out there for you to learn from people that really the excuse is you, and your excuses need to just stop. And that's where I was like, woe is me. My life is so shitty and nobody else is going to do it for me. So I need to make the changes. I need to believe in myself. I need to take with a grain of salt the negativity that some people give to me, and I need to open my arms and my heart and my mindset to allowing people who want more for me to give me that energy, because that's hard to accept as well. Take the advice, you know, make yourself smaller for once and just be open to hearing what other people are doing, because if you want something better, odds are you got to do something different. So be open to that. Be open to learning and growing. Be open to not feeling safe all the time. Be open to being challenged. Be open to being uncomfortable, because those are all of the things that are just on the other side of like something really, really good for you. And like over the last like 5 years of just like the worst struggle and just like, oh my God, like things cannot get worse. Like it's just crazy to me how recently that all was. Like crazy to me how I mean, I don't want to say how little time it took to get out of what was like the darkest time of my life into something where I'm like, wow, I'm really actually like proud of who I am. I'm proud of where I am. I'm proud of what I'm doing. I love the people around me. Like, I'm proud of the team around me. Like, it's very rare to be able to say that and to actually mean it, you know, like, and that can be out there for everybody. You just have to be willing to really work for it and to really want it and to not be too scared to do it. Because if I quit at every moment where I felt like this is too freaking scary, like I'd be exactly where I was 5 years ago, like very unhappy. My kids would not. And that's the thing too, like, for single moms, I feel like we do a lot of like, it's just like over checks and balances, like too much checks and balances when it comes to like, okay, but if I work, then I don't get to do this with my kids. And if I do that, then, you know, my kids don't have me there and And like, you know, maybe I stay with the husband just so that my kids have, you know, parents who are together in the house all the time, and, you know, all of this like shit. And at the end of the day, it's like, it's all bullshit. Like it's all bullshit. It really is. Like, your kids know when you're unhappy. Like, your kids are with you all the time. They know when you're not like being real with them. They know when you're faking it, you know, like.
I wanted to ask you about that. So how are your kids different? I mean, they're going through their own stages of life and they're different ages, but how do you think, as much as it correlates with how you are in life, how do you think their life is different now that you've found, you know, you found success, and you still have a lot to grow in it, but you know?
I mean, I would be curious to see what they say, but from my perspective, and just, I feel like they seem just so much more secure now.
Yeah.
And a lot like safer. I know we've had a lot of a happier year this year than we've had in a while. And I know that they're just lighter, you know, and like they're they're so young and they're so good, but they have had to go through like more shit in their lives than like a lot of people ever will. Like ever will have to deal with. Like we won't get into it here, but like the stuff that they've had to deal with is not normal, you know, like not normal stuff. And the way that and I feel like for the past like the 5 years leading up to us where we are now, it's been a lot of them like just, you know, being good sports, you know, and like just really kind of getting through it and like being just good sports, you know, like just really kind of like muscling, white knuckling through it through life with me, you know. But now they can be kids. Now they can relax a little bit, you know. Now they are not afraid to ask me for things, you know, like they're just so good and appreciative, and it's just like I want them to feel that safeness of like, yeah, I'm still gonna say no. Like like if you ask me to go do this one thing every weekend, I'm still gonna say no, you know, like we're not about that. But you know, like the like just feeling the like not holding back of like what they can just be kids. They don't have to be little adults like thinking like, oh, I know we cannot ask for that because we can't afford that and mom works really hard and we can't do that.
Tell them about the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh my God. So we go, and this is like, I can't even remember when this was, but we were like between a showing. So they were like tagging along with me to do work stuff as they sometimes do. And we had some time in between. I'm like, okay, like we're at like, what's the place? Kamakana Li'i.
Yeah, you got showings in Eva.
Yeah, I had showings in Eva. I'm like, okay, so we have a little bit of time to kill, so let's go eat something. You guys want to eat something? They're like, okay, yeah. I was like, okay, what do you guys want? And I'm like, and they're like, oh, I don't know, like Taco Bell or something. I'm like, that's what you want? Like, we can go anywhere in here. You guys, where do you guys want to go? And they're like, oh, I don't know. Like, they would never, you know, even ask for. I'm like, well, and we're like driving by Cheesecake Factory, right? I'm like, well, what about like Cheesecake Factory? And they're like, oh, no, that's okay, mom. Like, we could just go to the food court. Like, we can go to Panda Express or whatever. I'm like, no, I mean, we have time. Do you guys want to go to Cheesecake Factory? And they're like, okay, you know, like, yeah, okay. So we go and we, you know, they're giving us the bread and they're like, oh, what do you guys want to drink? And they're like, oh, just water. I'm like, do you guys want something? They're like, oh, can we? I'm like, yeah. What do you guys want? They're like, oh, I don't know, maybe just like a fruit punch or something. I'm like, you guys want like a lemonade? You know, like a strawberry lemonade? And they're like, really?
The virgin alcoholic.
Yeah. So you guys want a mocktail? You know, like
mocktail.
And but it just was like, it blew my mind because they were just so over the moon excited, you know, to like be able to do something like that, like just. And to like have a piece of cheesecake after, to actually eat a piece of cheesecake at Cheesecake Factory, you know, like, oh no, you cannot have appetizer, you cannot have desserts. And it's just like, it's not about the money, but it's about like the joy, you know, and like the hard work of like it being like, okay, either we can go to the movies this week or we cannot have enough money for groceries, you know, and like that's where I was before. It was like, okay, if I want to do a nice normal kid thing with my kids, we got to sacrifice something over here, you know? And they've been so good for all these years about that stuff. And now it just brings me so much joy to see them like relax and be kids. And yeah, maybe I'm still going to shut them down and say, no, that's too expensive. Or no, we're not going to do that this week or whatever. But the fact that they don't have like this fear to want more, you know, and the fact that they don't have this fear of like, what happens if we can't do this or like or we'll never be able to do this, because I mean, like, we've gone on a vacation this year that to them was just like, oh my God, like, you know, stuff that even I growing up was like, that's a rich people thing, like only rich people do that kind of stuff, you know, like it. And I know other people like, and it's maybe not that big a deal to some people to go on like a yearly vacation with your family, but like we never did that. Like
so there's some level of like, oh, my family cannot order soda. By the way, my kid's drinking water.
It was a special occasion.
Yeah, special occasion, maybe. But there's some level of like, we cannot order soda, we cannot have dessert, and we cannot take a trip to the Big Island. Yeah. Therefore, I cannot be a doctor or own my own business, or there's some connection there. So now your kids have some level of, like we could go Big Island and like order sodas, and so I can probably pretty much do whatever I want. Like
there is that level.
There's a confidence that they can have in themselves and their lineage now, right? And so that's amazing, and I love it because we're like the opposite. I won't mention who, but there's there's real estate agents and kind of a team and a cohort out there. They're like all Punahou. They're all Iorani.
Yeah.
And nothing bad about that.
Yeah.
You know, awesome.
Yeah.
That's just, and although you went to Kamehameha, like, you know.
Full ride.
Full
Just
ride.
let's be clear. We didn't pay tuition or anything like that.
Yeah. Like we aren't that. Our team isn't that. And so I think it's pretty cool that, you know, we can have those kind of experiences.
Yeah.
And impart that on other people, whether it be through this non-real estate platform, Podcast Hawaii, or our more real estate platforms. Like, hey, you should buy one house and buy another one.
Yeah.
So you can buy sodas and your kids can be doctors.
Yeah.
You know, and
there are just so many like levels to everything that like you just don't even know until your eyes are open to it.
yeah.
And it just
you can't
like,
unsee it.
and then you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
And now I'm on this like, I want my friends to do better. I want my cousins to do better. I want like, you know, like I want you guys to see. And it's like, sure, and I know to some people it seems like, oh, she's just like showing off, she's being loud. I'm like, no, I want to like model for some people who I know watch me and who I know look to me for whatever, and show them like, because they know that what my life looked like a couple years ago was wildly different, and like nobody was trying to be me a couple years ago. You know what I mean? And like, not that I'm saying, oh, everybody wants to be me, but no, I am definitely somebody that people can look to and aspire to be like. And I do get those reach outs. I do get those messages. I do get those texts, those DMs of like, I'm so proud of you. And I'm like, the best one I got was like, one of our clients was like, I want my daughter to be like you when she gets older. I cannot say, but it was just like, I'm not gonna say, I'm not gonna put her out there like that. But like that meant so much to me, you know, because like I would not have wanted my daughter to be me 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like, and you just have to like be open to new experiences, be open to new people, be open to the haters and the people saying you're too much of this and you're too much of that, because you are for some people. And then for other people, it's just exactly the right recipe, you know, and it changes your life. And geez, I just can't, I don't even know.
Crazy.
Well,
what do you want for yourself and what do you want for Hawaii moving forward? Let's close it up on that.
For myself, I want to keep challenging myself, keeping open to being uncomfortable, keep learning, not limit myself. I feel like I'm so ignorant still to so many things, and just, you know, not capping myself out and not thinking like, oh, I'm here, so I'm successful and I'm done. Like, I'm not done, because it's not about like me and how much money I make. It's about me and my kids and their kids and their kids and my friends and their family and all of that. And for Hawaii and for my people around me, we can do more. We can be better. We don't all have to be victims to our past. We don't all have to be victims to our family circumstance. We don't all have to like, yeah, shit's sad and shit's hard, but we don't need to make that our identity. And I feel like a lot of us do. I know I did, you know, and you fall into this, like, it's easy to be angry. It's easy to be in this mindset of like, well, this happened to me and this happened to me, and that's why the way things are, you know, that's why things are the way they are. Okay, maybe, but that happened to you. What you gonna do now? I had so many things happen to me. If I wanted to, I could be the biggest victim in the room every single time. But you know, and it's a thing I'm proud about myself for, is like, not everybody knows that about me. Not everybody knows the shit that I've been in, like the stuff that I've dealt with, because I'm not making it a point to claim that part of my life. I'm not making it a point to use that as ammunition to not do better and to not be better. Use that and change your life and allow yourself to not be a victim and to grow from not only your experiences, but the negative experiences of your family before you, of your people before you, of your neighborhood before you, of your, you know, your community before you. Use all of that as fuel. You want to be angry, but be better and do it better and be more, you know, like, do whatever you want, but just do it better and make your life better. And if you have that mindset and you can do that, then nobody can tell you any different, and you can. So just do it.
I want to just let that be a cliff, but to the, I gotta throw one thing in. When you talk about, as Hawaii people, I think that's because you're from here. You mainly only lived Hawaii, and so I do think there can be a victim mentality. So victim mentality is common in impoverished areas, and whether it be South Chicago or wherever. I think to certain non-majority, to minorities, and then Hawaii, there can be a certain victim mentality.
Yeah.
And in all of it, and the reason why you and I are able to work together is we acknowledge it. We care about the things, like the atrocities and some of the things. But like, I guess for me, being like this Hawaiian girl who walked into interview, I had to make sure there wasn't that though, that victim mindset. Not that I don't have empathy for the experience of certain, of people or a people.
Yeah.
But I know that it doesn't serve.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve that person or those people.
Yeah.
And so if a people or a person find themselves in a victim state, okay, acknowledge it and get out.
Yes.
Because it's only a path it's only a downward path.
Yeah. 100%.
So raise up Hawaii. I want to see you guys succeed.